You guys caught me right in the middle of fixing my hair. Oh my! I wasn't ready yet. Hold on a second. Good afternoon, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Backstep. This is Ronnie K in New York, and of course, my partner Tommy A is out there in New Mexico, not Old Mexico, but New Mexico. And we got a very distinguished guest with us and an old-time friend, and we're so glad he's with us today, Mike West, and we'll get to Mike in a second. Tommy, what's going on in your end of the world?
It's been hot. Not as smoky as you guys have been over in New York City. Looks like you're having trouble seeing some of the high rises from that smoke coming down from Canada. But all is well. We're geared up and getting ready for the wild 4th of July here.
Yes, same here. We got our fireworks and explosives guys. They're down at the piers and they're loading up the barges. You know, Macy's sponsors a big show every year on the East River, and they're there getting ready. And as far as the smoke from Canada, I think we're going to put in a grievance soon. You know, we're going to send them a grievance and say, hey, because they chose not to put the fires out, is what they told our government, that they're not going to put the fires out because they don't care. It's burning in some wild area and it doesn't affect people and it doesn't affect homes or buildings. So they're just going to let them burn. So they get 400 separate fires, and they decide they're going to let 200 of them go and try to tackle the other 200. You know, so I say we mobilize 500,000 guys with big feet from the United States and send them up there and stomp the damn thing out. Because I will tell you, 2 weeks ago, it literally looked like Mars. New York City looked like Mars. There was an orange haze over the city. It was eerie. It looked like the end of the world was coming, man. I tell you, it was crazy. It was crazy. So instead of talking about all that baloney, we got our guest on, and he's only got a short amount of time. So, Tommy, I'll turn it over to you, and you kick it off with Mike West, and we'll keep going.
Mike, for those that don't know you, you're currently the chief of the Front Range Fire District up in Colorado. And you and I were having a conversation on the phone a couple days ago, and you brought up a project that you guys have been working on, and had the opportunity to go see some of it action on firefighter meditation. And I got to tell you, after you and I talked on the phone the other day, I was a little skeptical. And not that I'm a non-believer in a lot of stuff. As you know, I'm not cynical, being an original Jersey guy. But I thought it'd be an interesting subject to bring you on and have you chat about it and how you've fitted into your organization.
Well, that's a really good segue. A lot of stuff, and ironically, Ronnie, I was in New York City 2 weeks ago when it looked like Mars. I was in Lower Manhattan, and I agree. That's exactly what it looked like. Just this orange, red, weird kind of vibe. It was strange. It was strange to be walking around and watching so many of the locals actually stopping to look up and take pictures and do all that. So
yeah, it was like being on Mars, right?
Yeah, it really was. It really was. So what Tommy's talking about is our organization has just started a pilot program in transcendental meditation. And kind of give you just a little bit of background how that started was I certainly have, like I think most firefighters have been around for a long time. We know that we should be doing things. We should be eating better. We should be sleeping better. We should be taking care of ourselves, working out, whether we're the brand new probie or with the experienced person. That's how we're going to have a long, happy, healthy career. And that's how we're going to have hopefully a long, happy, healthy retirement. And along the ways over the last couple of years, one of the things that keeps coming up is meditation. We should be meditating. And I don't know how you guys feel about that, but when I think about meditation, I think about in a robe and there's incense and I'm doing chants or something like that. And of course, that's not in. As a Jersey guy, that is not in my my DNA, let's say. So somewhere along the way, I'm trying like lots of you with the phones, with YouTube and apps and those types of things, and Headspace and Calm and all of these things. And I don't even know if I'm doing it right, you know? So along the way, probably about 6 months ago, I was listening to a podcast with a couple of guys that I really do respect. And one of them says to the other, he says, "Hey, do you meditate?" And I perked up just a little bit because I had this interest. And the guy says, "Yeah, I do." And he says, "What kind of meditation do you do?" He says, "I do transcendental meditation, TM." And that was a new term to me. And the guy who had asked the question says, "As a matter of fact, I do as well." And they talk about it. Well, next thing I know, I'm on a Google search like we all do. And I'm starting to find, what is this TM? Well, when you start looking into it, it's got a tremendous amount of history. It's been really around since the 50s, although it's based on some ancient type stuff. And in the 60s, which all of us remember, some of us more than others, in the 60s, it became really popular. The guy who popularized it kind of started getting some celebrities into it, including the Beatles. And the Beatles tribute their success on the White Album to the fact that all of the Beatles were practicing TM at the time. A lot of well-known writers, artists, as well as business people, as I got into the research, are doing this. So I signed up for a class, put myself through the class, did it. It's a 4-day class, very simple, about an hour or so a day. And I start meditating. I start doing this. And it's a super simple way of meditating. Well, of course, like any one of us would have done, I start thinking, I wonder if this has got some benefits for firefighters. So I do a quick search back to Google. Is there any fire departments doing TM? And Ronnie will know right away where I'm going with this. Commissioner Sal Casano is the national representative, the chairman, for a TM in Firefighters initiative, and had brought it to the FDNY as part of the counseling services unit. And so just 2 weeks ago, I met with the FDNY CSU and saw how they were utilizing the program. The program that we're using is sponsored by the David Lynch Foundation. He's a well-known director, producer of films, and he's brought and put in a lot of money and brought in donors that take care of kind of underprivileged, underserved populations, as well as veterans, cops, and firefighters. So that kind of got us going down this road, and we've just put a pilot program together. And about a month and a half ago, we put our first class on for a group of firefighters here at Front Range, Tommy.
Cool. And have you actually, you sent your guys out for some training. How'd the feedback from that work out?
Well, pretty good. And I'll get to the feedback in just a second. There were really, we talked about what are our goals? Like, why would firefighters want to meditate? Like, what purpose would that serve for us? And again, all of the viewers have either experienced this or they know the brothers or sisters that are experiencing this. We have such an epidemic right now going on with post-traumatic stress. And a lot of agencies are using TM as a way to reduce post-traumatic stress. In fact, the VA is teaching classes in TM to help veterans that have not been successful with medication or other treatments. And they're having a great deal. I think we all know in the fire service we're experiencing some morale issues, mandatory overtime, workload on the back end of the pandemic, all of those types of things. We're seeing morale issues. Being a little bit more resilient and more adaptive to change as the fire service is changing in some of our agencies. Improving sleep. There's a direct connection to sleep deprivation and cancer. Again, an epidemic in the fire service. We know that so many of our brothers and sisters are suffering cancer because of the toxic stuff that we're breathing, but also our bodies aren't as adept at taking care of those things when we're sleep deprived. Reducing blood pressure, right? 50% of the brothers that are dying each and every year are dying from cardiac related issues. And I think for all of us as chief officers, we know that we're looking for making better decisions under stress. So each of those areas is what we were looking at Front Range Fire. Can we improve those areas? So 6 weeks into the program right now, all of the members have been surveyed that have gone through the training. Are you still meditating? You're still doing it twice a day? And of this list of things, are you seeing benefits? And we ask them things like sleep. Are you seeing better resting heart rates? Are you seeing improved communication with your coworkers, with your spouse, what have you? And what we found was that 60+% are sleeping better. 40% are seeing increases or improvements in their blood pressure, and 100% are finding one or more of those benefits. So that's pretty powerful, and so it's worth the price of admission. Of course, we'll see how that goes over time.
So I got a question or two, Mike. So is this something that they're doing every 7 days a week, twice a day, or just at work, or is it all the time and that kind of stuff? You know, what's the frequency?
Yeah, so the goal, and one of the things I'll share with you is that TM and many of these types of meditation are studied by scientists, doctors, et cetera. TM seems to be about the most studied form of meditation. And what they have found is that the best results come from twice a day, 7 days a week, that becomes a cumulative effect. So you're less stressed at work if you're meditating off duty and on duty as well. No different than any workout type of a program, right? If you only work out for those couple of days that you're in the firehouse, those 4 days of eating bad and not doing something are gonna start to accumulate in bad ways. So the idea is that you're constantly doing that. Now, what I'll tell you is, for me, I'm pretty good at doing it 2 times a day. But there are those days that the schedule just doesn't allow it. You know, you're busy and you get to the end of the day and you're like, I just need to go to sleep, and that's okay. One of the things that the instructors tell us is that if you're working at it, if you're stressed about it, you're doing it wrong, right? And so it's a no stress kind of a thing. But yeah, that is the goal.
So how long are the sessions, Mike? Is it 10 minutes? Is it 5 minutes? Is it an hour?
So shooting for 20 minutes, that's the ideal time. But as one of our instructors just said to me recently, he said, if the best you got is 2 10-minute sessions a day, that's better than no sessions a day.
You know, I'm going to be looking this up right after the show. You know that, right?
I know you will, and I'll send you plenty of good information. There's just some good stuff, Ronnie.
Yeah, very cool.
And again, one of the beauties for your organization, which is what we're striving to do, is that you call up the CSU at your place and you say, hey, I'm a little bit stressed. I'm having some problems sleeping. Could I sign up for this class? And they'll offer those things up, and that's where we're trying to head with our organization. A little bit more proactive for us. Before you need the therapist, before you have some problems with some substance abuse, we want to give you that tool before you need it.
Yeah, when I my last command when I was in Connecticut, the guy we worked the physical workouts in the gym. The guys called it prehab. So instead of rehab, they called it prehab. So in the event they got an injury or they got hurt, they would recover faster, and it proved itself out. When guys were in tip-top shape, when they got hurt, they came back to work sooner. You know, so we kind of we termed it prehab. And when I had to justify that money to have that trainer come in twice a week, it worked. It absolutely worked.
That's it. I love that term. I'm gonna start using that one, Ronnie. Thanks for sharing that.
No patent on that, brother. You can use it. You can use it. That's for sure.
Yeah. So I'm curious, Mike, how the acceptance level amongst the troops has been. It looks to me like it's a pretty significant cultural shift of hanging out in the kitchen and busting balls all shift long. How's it been accepted?
So I think one of the things that is that I consider myself lucky is 4 years ago. 4 years ago, actually yesterday, when I left my previous department and came up here, what I found was a bunch of young, motivated firefighters that just wanted to learn and do a great job, and they're open to ideas. We talk a lot about wellness. We talk a lot about cancer prevention. We try and do our very best to get ahead of some problems like PTS. And so things that we talk about routinely in this agency are what's out there. What's the next thing that we can try to be healthier? And so right now we have a waiting list to get into the next TM classes. I recognize that that's unusual for a lot of fire departments. I really do. But I can't stress it enough that I do think that what's great about this program is it's not sitting in a therapist's office. And if you need to sit in a therapist's office, and I think we all do at different times, awesome. But boy, if I could just spend 20 minutes just with my eyes closed and meditating, and that takes care of a lot of it, boy, that's that prehab that Ronnie's talking about.
Yeah.
And so this agency has been really very receptive.
So, Mike, when you talk about the training course, it's a training course to teach you how to do this? Is that what it is? Is that what it is?
It is. So you start out with it's one-on-one with an instructor for an hour on day one, and then it's a group session with the instructor for an hour on day 2, 3, and 4. And that's a pretty universal kind of training curriculum, if you will, for this particular type of meditation. It's super simple, but again, how do I know I'm doing it right? No one can see what's going on if I'm doing a workout and I'm doing a CrossFit workout, or I'm doing something that there's a trainer that can see me do it and know whether or not I'm bending my back too much or what have you. With this, it gives you that opportunity to ask some questions. Hey, I just experienced this, or boy, I thought I was meditating, but all these other thoughts were popping up, and I'm thinking about what I'm going to cook for dinner, and I think about the dog barking and all that. Is that normal? So it gives you that opportunity to chat with the instructor and kind of work through it.
Sounds pretty cool. We again, in my last command, same thing. The guys were pretty much open to what else can we do to stay fit, stay healthy. So we had the trainer in twice a week, and everybody. I'm telling you, I was the only extra large T-shirt in the firehouse. These guys, they were all athletes. Like we call them occupational athletes. I mean, and again, with the trainer twice a week, they got to see her twice a month. Every shift got to see her twice a month, and she does a great job. And she has like 6 or 8 fire departments in that area that she kind of just bounces around and does this work.
Nice.
And we've had nutritionists come in, which is as important or more important than the workout. Eating right, cooking right. And she came in a couple times, and she emailed the menu ahead of time, and the guys went out shopping, and she showed up at 5:00 and cooked dinner and said you can have a good healthy dinner and it can taste good. It doesn't have to be bland or just you're eating just mushrooms all day or whatever. So with all of that, she introduced yoga to these guys. So they would do their workout for 40 minutes or something with her, and she beat their balls in, man. I could hear the screaming coming out of the gym, And she didn't take any crap from these guys either. She was great. Wow. And she, and then after one day, it got real quiet. So I figured they all killed each other. What the hell do I know, right? So I kind of went over to the door, and I'm listening, and there's nothing. So I said, wow, it's awful quiet here. But I didn't want to open the door for whatever reason. And they came out 15 minutes later, and she stopped in, hi, Chief, and I said, I heard a massacre, and then it got quiet. I thought everybody was dead, and she started laughing. She says, we're doing yoga. At the end of the workout, I have them doing yoga, and I asked the guys about it. And they said, it's the greatest thing in the world. They said, we won't admit it to our friends on the outside or our wives, but we're doing yoga, and it worked. I mean, it worked. They're still doing it.
You guys know, we're all in the same generation in that when we started in this business, when you had a bad day, you saw something bad, you go to choir practice, and kind of that was the look I was looking for, and the power of being together was great. The thing that we messed up was we were drinking too much. We're getting into trouble. We're participating, as my therapist likes to say, some of that risky behavior. That what I'm finding with this is that, hey, we can get together, we can do yoga, we can work out together, we can meditate together, and we're getting that benefit of being with the brothers and sisters that have just experienced the same bad call or the same thing that we did. And like I said, if we get out of this job healthy, I'm in.
But the thing is, you could do all of that and not have a hangover the next day.
Bonus.
Right? Not have a hangover or put all the toxic stuff in your body that we tend to do when things go bad. So yeah. Sounds good.
Well, I kind of enjoy waking up screaming at 3 o'clock in the morning. So
we're just going to let that one go, Tommy.
Yes. It's interesting, and you kind of sparked my interest in it, Mike, when we talked the other day, and something I'm going to need to do a little bit of research on. But anything, and I won't admit that I suffer from some of the effects of PTSD, but it sounds like this may be a viable approach to dealing with some of that.
So Mike, let me ask you something. Is this coupled with a good physical fitness program? Because this is another piece of health, safety, fitness, and all that. Is this just like you have a good workout program in the gym? You have this. You have healthy meals and all. Is this kind of like a holistic approach you guys are taking?
It is, and we refer to it. We stole it from obviously outside the fire service, but these what we refer to as the 8 dimensions of wellness, and it's discussions on fitness, your relationships, your financial fitness. Right? How many of us have had that brother or sister? They get off probation and they take that big raise and they buy a brand new house, too big of a mortgage, or a brand new truck, too much in their house, and next thing you know, they're trying to make ends meet, signing up for every overtime or signing up for second or third jobs, and then they're struggling with their relationships, right? So it's that whole piece that we're trying to educate guys on. The yoga thing, we've been doing that for a while. We have the nutritionists come out and cook with our guys a couple times a year. And it's the whole package. The one thing I'll mention, and it's so important to me, is that this program, no different than the rest of our programs, are voluntary for our guys to sign up. You don't want to meditate. You don't want to go down this path. No problem at all. No problem at all. Whatever it is we can do to support you, we just want to offer this up as a tool for your toolbox.
Cool. And when you because we're saying like this is a new day in the fire service, and it certainly is. I'm always doing some sort of research for something. Most of the time it's leadership type stuff, or I'm reading books on bad fires that I never heard of before. After 48 years, I'm still learning about fires. But one of the things that I read in leadership and all this other stuff was that it says train the whole person. Somebody's quoted in one of the books that I read, train the whole person, and not just to the incident, but through the incident, So just when you think about that, train the whole person, that it makes a lot of sense, mentally, physically, socially, all that stuff, and I think at the end of the day, I mean, for me, I think we'll have a better, healthier, mental healthier, physical healthier, and all around better fire service and better firefighters who can deal with things better than we did in the past, who will live healthier lives, who will be, hopefully disease free and all that other stuff. So I think this sounds like a great opportunity for us to turn the ship, and it's going to be quite the turn. Like I always use, it's going to be like turning around an aircraft carrier. You can't throw your arm over the seat and get the wheel. You turn around an aircraft carrier. It's going to take a little doing, like they say. Calculated, slow. Evolution, not revolution kind of stuff. So but I think it's the right direction. Kudos for me to you guys for doing all of that stuff. It sounds good. Really
Thanks.
sounds
And
good.
I think it's, you just said it. It's there's so much that we're trying to do, whether it's the on-scene decontamination, right? Just wiping down the soot, bagging up our gear and cleaning that and putting on the second set of gear, reducing the stuff that we have in a firehouse, leaving it out in the bay, the apparatus floor, these little things that unfortunately the three of us aren't going to be around long enough to see if they worked. We're just trying to give them as many tools as we can to keep them healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. And all those little things I think add up.
Yes,
it adds up. Let's start with no turnout gear past this door. Remember that we started, maybe that was 10 years ago we started. No, you can't wear your turnout gear into the back room, in the kitchen, in the day room, in the bunk room. Don't bring your gear in the back room. It's a bad idea. Yeah. And now it's evolved into what gross decon at the scene. Take your gear off, whatever, wipe your neck. While they're throwing a second bottle in your harness, wipe your neck down, change out your hood, put some. It can't hurt, that's for sure. That's what I always say. Like, it might not help, but it's not going to hurt you, to change your hood and wipe your neck off. So big deal, going to a two-hooded system. They're cheap enough, frankly. So I think we're heading in the right direction. I tell a lot of young people I run into today, whether it's I'm teaching or I'm a seminar or whatever, I say, you're coming in the job the best time in the history of the fire service, because there's a deep interest in you personally and you surviving healthy for 30 years and coming out the other side and having a long retirement so you can watch your grandchildren grow up and go to their weddings and stuff. So I said, so when they're telling you to do this stuff, do it. Don't try to be a big shot. Just heed the lessons. Like Tommy always says, we got to heed the lessons learned in the past. And we weren't that lucky. So and I also tell them it's our generation's responsibility to try to lick this thing now, so you can have a better future. And I think we're doing it. I think we're doing it. There's a lot of people out there running with the banner. The Billy Goldfeathers of the world and stuff about and Frank Liebs of the world and saying, hey, we didn't have the luxury of the knowledge, and we didn't have the ability. And if we did hear about it, it was like we didn't have the ability to absorb it. It was easy to say, nah, we don't need that. So it's.
Mike, I realize you're under a time crunch.
Yeah.
I can't thank you enough for coming on. It's good to see your smiling face. And you're a prolific reader the way Ron and I are. Just curious, what are you looking at these days?
Well, one that I think that you guys would really, really like is a book called Outlive by Peter Attia. And you want to talk about, as I always say, with our retirement, my goal is to exploit my pension. I want to take a lot more out than I ever put in.
Attaboy.
And it's all about not only longevity, living a long time, but health span. How healthy are we at the end when it's time to be on the wrong side of the daisies? And it's a really good book. Talks a lot about eating well, good physical fitness, all the stuff that Ronnie was talking about, good mental health as well. So it's a fascinating book. Sometimes it's a little deep on the science, but it's got some really good takeaways. So I encourage you guys to check that one out.
Cool. Well, and I encourage you to keep paying into the Colorado pension so I can continue to be a drain on it.
Attaboy.
I hate to be a stick in the mud when it comes to books, because that one sounds pretty good. But I just finished reading Murtaugh Murphy and Tracy's High Rise book, the new High Rise book they just published. And I will tell you, it's a 600-pager, and I read it. And this is the quintessential book of the ages for high rise. Absolutely. And here's the key to what they did, Mike.
Yeah.
They wrote it and telling a story. It's not written like a textbook. They told a story. They narrated the high rise challenge, what they call the vertical challenge in the book. They narrated it. It was like reading a Patterson novel, man. It was dynamite. They did an incredible job, these guys.
Love it.
So highly recommended. Highly recommended for high rise.
Thanks for that one. I wrote that one down. So always enjoy talking with you guys. Hey, I just got to throw this out. You guys have my email. Please feel free to share that with with the viewers. I'll send you a couple links, Ronnie. Feel free if that's something worth, if you guys want to share that with the viewers as well. But anyone can send me an email if they have some questions about what we talked about. I'm happy to share anything that we've done.
Great, super. Thanks for coming on with us, Mike, and good luck. Feel good and be safe.
Take care.
Good seeing you, brother.
I like doing something different once in a while, you know?
Mikey's such a great guy, and I don't know whether you've ever listened to him speak, but aside from you, he is probably one of the best instructors that is out there. And if you ever have a chance to go see anything that he's putting on, it's definitely worth the trip.
I for some reason, I think in my 35 trips to FDIC, I'm thinking I probably caught him once. Can't remember when or what the subject was, but I'm thinking he's been around for a couple of days, more than 20 minutes, like we say. So I'm sure I caught him once, but for lack of remembering if and when I did, I agree with you. And he's actually one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet in your life. And he's sincere. He's true. He's passionate about the fire service. He plays the damn pipes. He wears a skirt, the whole bit. So you got to love Mike West. Mike West from that West. I love it. But thanks for reaching out. Thanks for bringing him in.
My pleasure. With the 4th coming up, Ron, what are you guys doing in the city to gear up for fireworks safety?
Well, may the 4th be with you. How's that?
Yeah.
So basically, the legal displays are well covered. The big one on the 4th of July is sponsored by Macy's, and they've been doing that for 40 or 50 years. And when I was back in the bureau in the 80s, I handled all of that. I was the fireworks boss. Today, we got a lot more people in it. We got a lot more work to do. So our Explosives and Entertainment Unit, that's what they're called, EEU, Explosives and Entertainment. They have a team, and they pull other people from the bureau and who have been cross-trained in fireworks and pyrotechnics. And so now the last 2 days and the next 2, they'll be loading the barges down in Brooklyn for the big Macy's show. And there you go. See? There you go. There's the Explosives Unit logo with Wile E. Coyote trying to blow up the Roadrunner there. Did I send you that?
Yes.
I wasn't sure. And so so we got a very well trained, well tuned team that will take care of that and any other public displays that go on through the city. Unfortunately, the illegal stuff we don't get involved with a lot. That's really for the police to take care of as good as they can. But around this time of the year, illegal fireworks is like the drug trade all year round in New York City. It's profitable. It's tempting for those people who want to sell. You can drive up and down the streets of Manhattan, and the trunks are up, and they're just selling stuff out of the trunk. So with all of that, yeah. So it's traditionally the 4th of July is the busiest day of the year for the fire department. The busiest day of the year. So that's kind of where we're at with that. They're I'm trying to think if there's anything. There's a couple of other shows around, but not on. I don't think they do anything on the 4th, other than the Macy's show itself, because it's that big. We got barges. There's a batch of barges in the river, and there's a command center set up and all of that stuff. So I did post on fire engineering this month. Fireworks season. Are you ready? And it's not just for the fire prevention people, but for the line as well. There's a lot of stuff that goes on. That the line, that you guys on the line, you got your scanner on?
Yeah, they're calling. They got a brush fire going up north. They're just calling for air attack right now.
Attack? That's different where I work.
Yeah, it's, and I got to tell you, it's kind of a rush to call in air resources.
I bet you did that a couple of times in your life, right? So sure enough, we're prepared. We got the right people in the right spot, and hopefully we'll have what the fireworks industry calls, what they say around this time of the year is when they see you or talk to you or hang up, they say, have a safe and sane 4th of July. That's their saying, have a safe and sane 4th. And then John Hall at the NFPA said, fireworks are neither safe nor sane. He said that. Many years ago, John Hall said that at NFPA. They're neither safe nor sane, but we'll keep going. And I still teach my fireworks course over in New Jersey to the fire officials. But to take a look, if you get a second, folks, go on to fireengineering.com under commentary or features. I think it's one or the other. They keep bouncing it back and forth. But it says, are you ready for fireworks season? Give you a background on some of the things they should and shouldn't be doing on the firing grounds and what the contractors should be doing, the pyrotechnicians and all that kind of stuff. And just most importantly, I'll leave you with this for the subject. If you're on a standby at a display's over, they ask you to put up your light tower, maybe to light up the field to help them search for duds and that kind of stuff. It's okay. You can line up, walk it. If you find something, keep your hands in your pockets, call the pyro guy over and say, you got a dud laying here, and let them take care of it. Don't pick anything up. Do not pick anything up. Even if you see a half a shell casing. Oh, this is a nice souvenir. If you don't pick anything up, then you'll tend not to pick anything up. Hopefully that makes a lot of sense. So keep your hands in your pockets. You want to cut your pockets out and play pool while you're walking around. We don't care. Okay, but don't pick anything up. Remember that old thing, pocket pool? We used to talk about that all the time. I just reminded Tommy of something very old. But,
oh, yeah.
But it's okay to help. Just let the pyros do that. Those guys, they know what they're doing. They're not going to pick up a dud shell. They're going to come over with a long-handled shovel, and they'll pick it up with that because they want to keep their hands for tomorrow, too, just in case the damn thing goes off. Okay. So other than that, have a safe and sane 4th, like they say.
I was a little disturbed earlier in the day.
You're more than a little disturbed, but go ahead.
I like to, do a little bit of research before we get on the air and have things to talk about. And, highway operations basically scare the shit out of me. And, I see more and more examples of stuff going on out there on the highway that makes me wonder why we're out there at all. But there was a recent incident in Pennsylvania where a fire department was operating along the highway, and apparently the tractor trailers that were passing the fire scene were going a bit fast for the firefighters to feel comfortable with, and one of them took off his helmet and threw it at the windshield of the truck that was going by, and apparently it shattered the windshield. I can understand wanting to do that. But in this instance, the firefighter who threw the helmet is being charged for a misdemeanor. And I imagine it probably pissed the Pennsylvania State Police off that happened. But there's got to be a better remedy to trying to fix some of that stuff than creating additional damage on our part to try to get our point across.
Yeah, I agree. That's a feel good moment for 10 seconds. That's all that is. That's
yeah.
He was pissed off. He did it, and up yours, buddy. And now, now that whole 10 seconds is over real fast, and now he's got the ramification of it. But we always preach, Tommy, you and I, and a bunch of our colleagues, you got to take the high road, man. You really do. And no pun intended. We're talking about highways, but you really got to take the high. You got to rise above that shit. At any event, if there's a law in Pennsylvania that says move over or slow down to a certain speed, okay, you clock that guy and take his license plate number and give that to the trooper and say, this guy came through the scene at 65 miles an hour. This is bullshit, and let them track him down. But doing that is not a good idea. I mean, where about was that? Do you remember?
I'd have to go back and pull the blurb that I read. I can't remember which part of the state it was in.
Yeah, I didn't see that. But we were on a highway once in North Plainfield when I was doing my volunteer thing in New Jersey, and we had traffic backed up 6:00 at night 2 nights before Christmas. It was like the 23rd, and the people were freaking out. Everybody's trying to get their shopping in. It's like 7 o'clock at night. We got an accident, so we finally start to clear, and this guy comes through with a box truck, like a 16-foot box truck or a 24-foot box truck. And just really, I mean, this close. It was so close to our guys, So one of the guys, we were throwing Speedy dry. He had a bucket in his hand, like a Home Depot bucket. And he let it fly, but it hit the side of the truck and bounced back and hit one of the guys, of course, right? But he just threw the bucket at, hey, he called him a name. and so nobody got hurt, and and that kind of stuff. It didn't really matter, but throwing your helmet through the windshield of a truck is not a good idea. I mean, it's just I can't support.
I would be tempted to say that it probably did slow them down.
Yes, I would agree with that. But I guess, like I said, there's ways to do it. And at that point, I don't know what the rules are, what the laws are in Pennsylvania. And frankly, I travel through Pennsylvania a lot. My daughter lives there. That's my route to Emmitsburg and back. I mean, I've been on 78 or the Pennsylvania Turnpike a million times. And I don't want to exaggerate, but it's at least a million. Okay. but when there's an accident or there's whatever's going on, the PennDOT gets it. PennDOT's fantastic. They get out there. They start setting up signs 10 miles out. Accident 10 miles ahead. Slow down. 5 miles. 3 miles. They got the signs going. Moved over to the left. Start moving over now. And then the fire police are usually out there from the local volunteer companies. And they do a great job doing blocking, and all that stuff. So they normally do a great job protecting their people out there, and they've had their problems, but they're trying real hard to remedy that, So I'm not sure what the guy. Well, I'll say I don't know what he's thinking, but I guess he wasn't thinking,
It just kind of amazes me that I think it's becoming more commonplace for us to use apparatus for blocking. Doing the highway operations, It just amazes me the number of people that run into that apparatus.
Yeah, and do you remember about shit? It's got to be 15, 20. I always think it's last year, but I know how fast the time's going now, so it's probably 20 years ago. But on that, I remember reading an article in one of the mags about a chief who his rigs were getting hit every 2 weeks. He had a piece out of service every 2 weeks. He had 3 major highways somewhere in the Midwest. He went over to DPW in the town, and he asked them for a dump truck. You got a dump truck I can borrow? And they said, we're getting rid of old Bessie over here. We got a new one. He took it, had it painted, put 100 yellow lights on it, and made that his blocker. And he said, if they hit it, I don't care. And it's a dump truck, so you take your chances if you want to hit that thing. That's like hitting the tank. And that was to me. And they had to do a transaction on the books, so he paid $1,000 for it or something from DPW. Yeah. Paint job, some lights, and he called it LS1, Life Safety 1. They put a name on it, and go ahead, run into that if you want. I don't care, but he had pieces out of service. Consistently had an engine or a truck out of service because it was getting hit on the damn highway. I thought the dump truck remedy was dynamite. The chief was thinking.
Well, just when you think we haven't had enough issues with vehicles, there was another piece I read about robo-taxis. And I believe it was in San Francisco. And apparently these vehicles don't recognize emergency lights or fire line tape or anything else. And they're people running out of the way when they show up. Apparently, there's been a couple incidents of them pulling right up to the back end of a piece of fire apparatus, not hitting it, but just stopping dead, not being able to do anything with them.
Oh my God! Say it isn't so, Thomas. Say it isn't so.
Unfortunately, who would have believed that we'd be dealing with stuff like that?
I'm telling you,
so
man.
The other thing I saw, the line of duty death that occurred back in Rockland County when Jared Lloyd lost his life in that fire. I guess there was a plea deal that was cut by the Rockland County District Attorney's Office that had the firefighters pretty upset. The two rabbis that were koshering the kitchen in there, apparently they're looking at probation instead of jail time.
There's only 3 happy people in Rockland County right now: the 2 rabbis and their attorney. That's it.
Yeah.
The county executive went on record. The prosecutor went on record. The fire chief, all the firefighters, the cops. Nobody's happy with this. These guys pled guilty to felony manslaughter. Not just plain old manslaughter, felony manslaughter, and the judge just slapped them on the wrist. They killed 2 people, one of our guys, one of our brothers, and a resident of the old age home. Burnt the damn building down. There's no building there anymore. And he slapped them on the wrist with a fine and some probation. So that there ain't nobody happy up in Rockland County right now. It's not good, man. It's really not good, because to me that the message is to the 2 families that lost their people. Well, too bad. That's the message. Too bad.
Yeah.
And they interviewed Jared Lloyd's mother on the radio, the local news here in New York, and she said our holidays are kind of taken up with going to the cemetery to visit Jared, and those folks, when they have their holidays, they're going to be singing, dancing, and eating. She says that's not really fair. And on top of that, for the kicker of the interview, she said they didn't even apologize. They didn't even say we're sorry. They showed no remorse at all. So it's pretty ugly up there, and I don't know how that. I mean, allegedly it's over, but I don't know. I don't think the story's going to end right here. I'm thinking she's got to be going civil lawsuit at this point, because they caused the death of a son. So, I'm thinking they're going to go civil on this.
And as much as we try to remain apolitical with some of that stuff, that district attorney, I'm sure, is an elected position.
Right.
And in areas where the fire departments have been well established, they tend to be a political force.
Yes.
If this guy's planning on getting reelected, guess what?
Yeah.
You've screwed up big time.
Well, you know what? I think from what I've heard and what I've read, the DA didn't do too bad. It was all up to the judge. The judge made the decision. So the real kicker is, if the judge is elected by the people, he's probably done. He's finished. Yeah, because there's nobody's going to put that guy back in the seat. I don't know how the judges get selected, or what kind of circuit he's working under. But it was really terrible. I'm driving into work last week, and they're talking about the verdict and this and that. And I'm going, are you kidding me? I'm yelling at the radio 5:30 in the morning, saying, "Are you what? You out of your mind?" And that kind of stuff. So, but it was on the news for 3 or 4 days, when they were interviewing the firefighters and everything else. And so, yeah, I don't know, man. That's bad for our biz. I think it's just bad for society all around. And I'm not looking to see innocent people go to jail. I'm not looking to see these guys go to jail because they're rabbis. And it has nothing to do with that. They pled guilty to felony manslaughter, and they're not paying it. They're not paying it back to society. They pay a fine and they're on probation. So I don't know, man. This stuff's kind of, excuse me, I dropped something. This stuff kind of blows my mind once in a while. But, I did want to throw something. I meant to do it when Mike, I know Mike he was on a tight time schedule and he had a meeting, but we got something else going on in the job now called MPI. It's called the Mental Performance Initiative, and it's job wide. And I've sat through 2 or 3 sessions with a couple of captains that are going around doing this. We actually just did a leadership academy for the dispatchers. It was for the supervising and chief dispatchers around the city at their training center in the Bronx. And I was asked to come in and do a leadership shtick. But when I got there early, these 2 captains were doing the MPI with the supervising dispatchers, about 8 or 10 at a time. And it was so good. It was so good. We just set up our semester for continuing education for the fall for fire prevention. I have them coming to do a 4-hour MPI class for our people. And really what they do is it's about stress. It's just about all centered around stress. Work life, home life. They even, those little, what the heck do they call them? When you go to the doc, they have the O2 analyzer they put on your finger. Yeah, they got like 3 dozen of those. They hand them out. Put this on your finger. Take your numbers. Now we want you to close your eyes and think of something that really pisses you off and get your heart rate up. And then they get the heart rate up. Then they call them up. They do, I forget what they call it because we've done it also. But they got a bucket of toys and things that aren't toys, but like it could be a bent piece of metal. And you pick one out of the bucket blindly and you got to talk about it for 5 minutes. And you see your stress level going up and your heart, so they spend this whole little session about mental performance, and how you need to lick your stress, and you need to kind of kill it because it'll take you down, as we know. Whether it's home, whether it's here, they talk about, what are your hobbies? One guy's a hunter and one guy's a fisherman, and one guy rides his Harley, and really cool. So I booked them for a 4-hour session for our upcoming continuing education program in the Bureau, and we're going to see how that goes. I thought it was interesting as hell, and these two captains got it down pat. I mean, they really got it down to do it. It's kind of, they kind of take a subject that can be tough or serious, and they make it fun, and we have chats, and there's a couple of yucks and that kind of stuff. So they're doing this called the MPI, and they're doing it around the job. They're doing it around the job now, so it's kind of neat. What else do I have written down? So we're about 50 minutes into our hour here, and neither you or Mike mentioned the two words that give me one of these right now, which is lithium-ion batteries. So I wanted to thank you for that, but I bet that was on your list. He's showing it on the camera.
I had I was reading Billy's secret list and firefighter close calls, and he had mentioned a couple things, and I think there was 4 killed in the last fire you guys had, lithium-ion on, and unfortunately this occurred during the week for safety stand down.
Right.
And the safety stand down deals exclusively with the lithium-ion battery problem, and it's another one I don't have a good answer to. And correct me if I'm wrong, Ron. A lot of that has to do with the charging systems for those things, does it not?
It does, in the sense of the fact that they're using it's not unlike anything else that you buy in this arena. When you buy a new Apple iPhone, they tell you in the instructions, use the Apple charger for your phone. Don't buy it because the charger and the battery and the phone are compatible to each other. So what's happening is, the crux of it is, it's not necessarily the charger. It's the $50 knockoff battery that they're hooking up to the charger. That's what the problem is. So they're rebuilding batteries, which they're not supposed to. They're getting knockoffs from overseas, from different countries, and they're reconditioning them, and they're not supposed to. So they had a inspection / raid yesterday, also 4 blocks from where the fatalities were, also in Chinatown. And now our guys are there. Our guys are at the tip of the spear right now. We got a chief inspector and a task force, and they pulled in the marshals and a little bit of hazmat, and sometimes the building department, because the building's given vacate orders to get out of the building. So now they go to this place, they get a tip on, and it's a mess. It's a mess. And I got, Tommy, if I tell you, I've seen hundreds of pictures from the last 8 months of places they've been to where they got on charge with outlet strips and extension cords. They're charging 150, 200 batteries at a time.
Wow.
I mean, it's nuts what's going on. So they go to this address near where the fire was, and sure enough, it's loaded. So they start writing. Guys take out summons. They call the battalion chief. He calls for hazmat. They're going to confiscate. One of the firefighters from hazmat's carrying a battery out of the building, and it goes on fire while he's carrying it. It starts to run away while he's carrying the damn thing. They had a drum outside with they're using this material called cell block, and that's hazmat's carrying this stuff now. It's the only thing that can encapsulate these things and make them hopefully go away. And he dropped it into the barrel of cell block. So the damn thing went on fire while he was holding it. I mean, it was the reason why he took it out of the building was because the body was cracked, or it was a reconditioned or rebuilt, or there's duct tape wrapped around it. I mean, this is what they're doing here. So we keep saying the last 6 months it's going to get worse before it gets better, and it is. It's getting worse. The bikes, when you buy an e-bike, you go to a legitimate e-bike store. You buy an e-bike, they run about $1,200 to $1,500 for a nice one. They come with a UL approved battery, and that'll last however long, however many charges it takes, 1,000 charges or whatever, and then eventually it stops pulling the charge. You need a new battery. That UL approved battery is $300 and change.
Wow.
And the guys that are using the e-bikes, they're delivering pizzas and Chinese food and DoorDash and all that. They're not going to take $300 and put it down on a battery. That could be 3 days' pay. So they buy the $50 knockoff. Then they bring it up into the apartment. Then it goes on fire, and then we got another headline job. And there's thousands of these bikes and scooters around. Thousands.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's going to get worse before it gets better. And then recently, the politicians came on from Washington and said, we're going to give New York City $25 million, and they're going to build charging stations for these bikes at every NYCHA house, New York City Housing Authority complex. I think I heard there was 50 or 60 NYCHA housing projects around the city. And they're going to build these charging stations outside one of the buildings, and you can charge your bike up so you don't take it in the elevator and take it to your house. So the question is for me, if you live in NYCHA housing, and a lot of them, unfortunately, are in very bad neighborhoods and, crime neighborhoods, who's leaving their bike out in the street overnight?
Yeah.
I'm not. Those things, after they spend $25 million, those racks are going to be empty. No one's going to use it unless during the day, which when they should be working, those guys, they got to work during the day, so they're using the bike. So I'm not sure when they're going to use it. Maybe they get home at 6 o'clock or say at 8 o'clock at night after the dinner rush, and they plug it in, and they're going to sit there for 3 or 4 hours till they can get it charged. And then what happens? It's charged. They're still going to put it in the elevator, bring it up to the apartment. Okay, so we're spinning the wheels here. So I'm not sure.
Crazy.
But yesterday after they hit that other place, the battery went on fire in the guy's hands. The fire commissioner was on. They did a big press thing, and she looked in the camera and she said, "If you continue to operate like this, we're going to fine you, and shut you down." So she threw down the gauntlet. So the beat goes on. So we're getting involved from my end with education, training, and professional development. We got a call from like the small business group from the mayor's office. They want more education on the batteries. So we're giving them a training class next week because they go around to the businesses to make sure that, hey, you got to be in compliance. Here's some brochures, blah, blah, blah. We want you to stay in business. So the small business group, I can't think of the rest of their acronym. It's SBS, I guess, Small Business Services. So we're training them next week. We have a public fire safety education group. We're hoping to get them into the academy and give them the same message. And then maybe train a cadre of backup instructors who can go out, because there's going to be a point where the fire department's going to go on TV and on a website and say, if you want someone to come to your community group, Boy Scout troop, blah, blah, and you want to talk about this, we got people. And so we're trying to get ready and bulk up for that so we have the right amount of people trained with the same message. That's the key. One message in, one message out. Yeah, so that's where we're at, man.
Cool.
And we did have a battery job yesterday morning and one last night again. No fatalities, but 2 more battery fires. So the beat goes on. The beat goes on. That's what they say. So I think our hour's about up, buddy. Do you have a roll call for tonight?
Yes, I do. And we were last on the air back on May 23rd, and since then we've suffered 10 line of duty deaths. On May 25th, Kyle Osgood from the Farmland Fire Department in Farmland, Indiana, died when a water tender rolled over. On 5/26, James Mueller from the Irmo Fire Department in Columbia, South Carolina, lost his life during a structural collapse. June 5th, Sean Daniel from the Georgia Department of Forestry in Dry Branch, Georgia, had a heart attack at a fire scene. On June 10th, William McHale from the Vermilion Fire and Rescue Department in Vermilion, Ohio, had a heart attack after training. On June 15th, Stuart Hunt with the Ancrum Fire District in Ancrum, New York, suffered an unknown medical event while on scene. June 21st, Brian LaTrent from Bayville Fire Company No. 1 in Bayville, New Jersey, had a heart attack after training. June 22nd, Bobby Smith with the Ware County Fire and Rescue in Waycross, Georgia, passed away after a vehicle collision. June 26th, Lloyd Rudiger from New Haven Berger Fire Protection District in New Haven, Missouri, had a heart attack after a response to a fire. On June 27th, Hal Hankencraft from South Richard Fire Department in Defiance, Ohio, suffered line of duty death from a pulmonary embolism. And most recently, June 27th, Bryce Troshbash from the Naval District of Washington Fire Department in Maryland lost his life when he fell through a floor at a structure fire. Again, you've heard me say it before, heed the lessons that these folks had left behind them and do not let their deaths be in vain, and keep their families and the other survivors in your thoughts and prayers.
Thanks, Tommy. This wraps up another session up on the Backstep. We'll be back again someday, boys and girls. By the way, speaking of that, I saw a T-shirt the other day online. It was a picture of a firefighter, kind of with his tools and his flames, and it said, "I've been on more rooftops than Santa Claus." I love it. I might have to get one of those. Yeah, so he's been on more rooftops than Santa Claus. I kind of like that. But in the meantime, folks, stay well, be well, eat right, eat light, stop for red, use your head, hug your wife, hug your kids, hug your other, everybody you love. Tell them you love them and hug them tight. And let's stay healthy, mentally, physically, and let's keep going so we can all get together again at some event, whether it's next week or XDIC of 24 or whatever it is. And with that, we'll say goodnight. Thank you. And I want to just a quick shout to our producer, Mark Howe from Penwell Fire Engineering, books and videos. And it used to be Penwell. Now it's Clarion Events, right? Clarion Fire Engineering books and videos. And our good friend, Peter Perkilo, who keeps everybody on a straight and narrow here in fire engineering. So with that, Tommy, we'll say goodnight to you, my friend, and stay out of the smoke like we're trying to do here. Duck the smoke.
All right. Stay safe, everybody.
Take care.